a show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Digicel BVI, Cyril B. Romney Tortola Pier Park, Simply Secure, Gumptions Land and Sea Tours, Nagico Insurances, and Envy Styles Nail Salon, Spa and Barbershop.
Let me tell you a secret. When you came to this world, you were already in love, made from love, and born to love. So when you break code, you tell the God within and this great universe that you have forgotten who you are, a star who came to this world already in love, made from love, and born to love. And every time you choose love, you choose yourself. So choose love every time.
Stop. Think.
Think.
Before you act.
Before you act.
Think before you act.
On this edition of The Big Story, will the British Virgin Islands have the backing of regional counterparts should government heed public call to temporarily discontinue their participation in the Commission of Inquiry? The response to this during a press conference of the 42nd regular meeting of CARICOM heads of governments, which was attended virtually by JTV last night, July 6, 2021. But first, opening remarks by Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda and the Chairman of CARICOM, Honorable Gadsden Brown, and Secretary General of CARICOM, Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, following the leaders' responses to JTV News.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media, good evening. Thank you for joining us for this press conference at the end of 2 days of intense discussions that have resulted in decisions that we hope will benefit us all as we move to build a better Caribbean community. As you would appreciate, the impact of the pandemic and how the region is responding to it occupied our attention. We received a report from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, which guided the discussion. Our priorities are equitable access to vaccines and how we treat with the emerging COVID variants. We are determined to achieve 80% herd immunity in the region by year end. And in this regard, we have agreed to redouble our efforts to acquire adequate supplies of vaccines. Vaccine hesitancy was another cause of concern for us, and we have mandated the CARICOM Secretariat to continue to collaborate with CAFA, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, regional nursing, medical, and allied health professional bodies and institutions to identify strategies and policy guidelines to address this matter. No one is safe until everyone is safe. And we are urging everyone to get vaccinated and for employees to cooperate with their employers to ensure a safe working environment, either through vaccination or regular testing. The issue of natural disasters, climate change, was discussed. We received an update on the situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the aftermath of the eruption of the La Sofia volcano and the recent flooding in Guyana and Suriname. We also received a report from the countries that were affected by the recent passage of Hurricane Elsa in particular Barbados, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. We expressed our solidarity with them and underscored the necessity for strengthening our resilience to confront the region's complex multi-hazard environment. The meeting recognized the critical role that regional institutions have played and continue to play in the response to regional emergency events. In this regard, we commended the sterling work of the Seismic Research Center of the University of the West Indies. We expressed appreciation to our development partners for the financial and technical support to the regional response mechanism led by the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, in support of member states. We also discussed the CSME. The CARICOM Single Market and Economy is a platform that we consider to be critical to rebuild and transform our member states post-COVID-19. We agreed also that work to achieve full implementation of the CSME requires urgent action by community organs, cabinets of member states, the CARICOM Secretariat, the private sector, and other stakeholders. A special meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development will be held urgently to consider proposals for immediate action on CSME implementation. Earlier this afternoon, we also interacted with the private sector and civil society as we continue our practice of including all stakeholders in the work of the community. Aviation and tourism revival also occupied our time. We recognize the need to reopen economies while balancing the health and economic livelihood of community nationals, and agreed that new protocols for health, safety, visitor management, and sanitation measures were of utmost importance in encouraging the resuscitation of the tourism sector. We agreed to consider proposals to reduce taxes on inter-regional travel for a pilot period of 6 months. We also agreed to consider proposals to create a regional travel bubble for a pilot period of 6 months, taking account of previous lessons learned. We endorsed the recommendation for further consultations in the development of a harmonized policy for cruise ships for both vaccinated and unvaccinated persons. In this regard, heads of government mandated the CARICOM Secretariat in collaboration with CAFA and other relevant regional security agencies to convene a high-level meeting with cruise lines to agree on the minimum health and safety requirements for the resumption of cruise sailing in the Caribbean region. We also discussed the issues of food security and nutrition security. On the matter of food security in the region, we received a report on the work of the Special Ministerial Task Force on food production and food security, and endorse an implementation plan which focuses on transforming our agri-food systems. We welcome the actions that have been taken so far to advance the CARICOM agri-food systems agenda, including an implementation plan and priority commodities for heightened investment by the regional private sector. The meeting welcomed the task force's engagement with the CARICOM private sector organization. We agreed that priority attention must be given to proposals to incentivize private sector partnerships, to address reliable transport and logistics requirements to implement the agri-food systems agenda. We agreed to invite expressions of interest in this regard, including funding to include booth and other operations, possibly even the leasing of maritime transportation, or ships for that matter. Tax transparency and blacklisting, as well as de-risking and the proposed global minimum tax also occupied our attention. And the meeting stressed that the blacklisting and de-risking phenomena remain as serious threats to the economic security of CARICOM member states. Heads of government condemned the excessive economic pressure on CARICOM states by the European Union through the continuous inclusion of several member states on blacklists with respect to non-cooperative tax jurisdictions, and high-risk third countries with strategic anti-money laundering, counter-financing terrorism, or AML-CFT deficiencies. We considered issues concerning the recent announced minimum global corporate tax rate and agreed to issue a statement after a subsequent meeting is held by heads to be held perhaps by the end of July. Heads also looked at the situation in Haiti, and heads received a report on the situation in Haiti from the expert group, which we established at the 32nd intersessional meeting in February 2021, and agreed to issue a statement. The meeting ended with tributes to the outgoing S3. So we took the opportunity to commend Ambassador Larocque, who demits office next month after holding the position of Secretary General for 10 years. This was his last regular meeting of the conference, and we took the opportunity to express our gratitude to him for steering the community at an especially difficult period. And we wish him every success as he begins another chapter of his life. We also welcome the incoming Secretary General, Dr. Carla Barnett, who assumes office on August 15, 2021, and look forward to working with her in continuing the quest for the sustainable development of the community. In brief, these are some of the major issues which we addressed over the past 2 days. The communique will be issued shortly and will include more information on these and other matters that were on the agenda.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My question is primarily to the chairman. I'm Kathy Richards, JTV News BVI. I guess by now you would have been brought up to date as to the significant upsurge in the number of COVID-19 cases in the British Virgin Islands to the last count at 480 active cases as of Monday. Like the other Caribbean countries, we are seeing strong resistance to vaccination, as you would have alluded to earlier in your presentation. However, Mr. Chairman, has CARICOM at any level given thought or is in discussion with the government of the British Virgin Islands as it relates to how are they to cope with dealing with the pandemic and at the same time dealing with a commission of inquiry, to the extent that just earlier tonight we heard on a public talk show where the public is calling now for the government of the British Virgin Islands to pull out of that commission of inquiry until such time that we can get the situation on the ground under control. What says the CARICOM on this?
Yeah, well, the BVI, has been participants meetings of CARICOM, and we would have had the support of CAFA, PAHO, and other institutions, UE, to assist us to put systems in place to manage COVID, to contain the escalation of COVID. I think by and large, the CARICOM region, all of the countries have been successful. And, practically all of the countries would have seen some level of, COVID spike. And, perhaps, this is just your turn to go through that situation. The key thing is the capacity to manage the situation downwards. I can tell you, for example, in the case of Antigua and Barbuda, we had about 470 active COVID cases just about, I'd say 4 months ago, and just today we had a new case. So the issue is to continue to follow the protocols and to ensure that the protocols are strictly. But I'm pretty sure that in terms of the health aspects in managing COVID, that all of the countries within CARICOM, that they have the competence to effectively manage these spikes. And I'm sure that, if they're in need of any technical assistance, that, there are various institutions, including CAFA, that could assist in that regard. The situation of the Commission of Inquiry was brought to our attention, and we have expressed some concerns in that the way in which the Commission of Inquiry has been conducted is not fair. That our understanding is that they're not allowing any responses by by the government, and we there's a statement issued by the community calling for fairness, the COI, and this matter could be resolved amicably. And however, we're very concerned with the lack of transparency and so on, and the fact too that they are violating the procedures that ordinarily would pertain in the of a public inquiry. So we stand in solidarity with the BVI. We know they're asking for self-determination, and again, we think that they have the right so to do, and they have the CARICOM community. SG, I don't know if you wish to supplement what I said there, or if that's sufficient.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As far as the COVID situation in the BVI, CARFA is the Caribbean Public Health Agency is providing as much support as is to the BVI in terms of technical health support, and I believe they might even be doing some testing, if I'm not mistaken. So the BVI is a member of CARFA. So that support, and CARFA is a CARICOM institution. They're the ones acting on our behalf, basically, on matters COVID. So it is a matter of concern anytime a member state has such a problem, and CARFA is very, very, very active in doing whatever they can in terms of the COVID Prime Minister. I think you've handled the situation on the Commission of Inquiry. We will be issuing a formal statement on that matter. The heads also expressed support for the, I think it's called the C24 resolution that may be going before the United Nations. At least it was discussed. So heads were fully briefed on the situation on that issue as well. Thank you.
Could you permit me a quick follow-up?
Sure.
Could you say if CARICOM and CARFA are going to be supporting the government of the British Virgin Islands, should they take a decision to pull out from that Commission of Inquiry at this time temporarily?
That's an interesting question. Ultimately, if the process is not fair, and they have to protect their national interests, I guess we have an obligation to respect their decision. And at the end of the day, they're part of the community, so we would want to stand in solidarity with them.
On the other hand, when contacted today, July 7, on this very issue, His Excellency Governor John J. Rankin told JTV that he is confident that the Commission of Inquiry will continue to be carried out in accordance with COVID-19 safety protocols, and endorses the government's commitment to continued cooperation with the inquiry. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards.